Awesome. Well, it might be a small crowd tonight, but that's a nice thing. We can kind of get to know folks and answer questions and really have a good conversation here. I'll let Katie kick things off since she is our fearless COO, and I will jump in as I can help with more technical things. So take it away, Katie.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. And as Alex said, sorry for the Zoom hullabaloo. We had a couple different links in the same event. So I'm glad you all found it. You're on the right link. But apologies if you tried to join the other one first. But hopefully Austin's able to get in here or can hear us. But otherwise, Mina, feel free to ask questions as we go.
Otherwise, this can be the interview you and Alex do for me.
Exactly. I love it. Awesome. Alex, can you give me screen sharing capability?
Absolutely, I can. I will actually make you the host.
Cool.
And that way you will be in charge.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, Mina, we already know you. You know us, I think, fairly well. Glad to see you. Like Alex said, glad you're back again. Austin, if you can hear us, we'll do quick intros. I'm Katie. As Alex said, I'm the COO for Build Carolina, which is the overarching nonprofit that includes Develop Carolina as a program. Also SC Codes that I know, Mina, you're familiar with, and then the Carolina Code School, which you're also familiar with in the upstate. So you've got the trifecta going. And then Alex, I'll let you introduce yourself just as a refresher as well.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. So as Katie said, I'm also with Build Carolina. I'm the technical director. My name is Alex Martin. I'm introducing myself a little backwards tonight. As Katie mentioned, we look over Develop Carolina. That's one of our programs. Mina and I are also both from the old school SC Codes when it was a little library program and not the awesome online platform and community it is now. So I manage a lot more of our technical curriculum, content, platform, and tooling. And if you're in the next cohort for Develop Carolina, you'll also see me quite a bit in our classroom.
Awesome. All right. And it looks like we have Nicole who's going to be joining here shortly as well. So just be on the lookout for her in the waiting room, please, Alex. Wonderful. She just sent me an email. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, walk through some slides that just discusses a little bit of an overview of what Develop Carolina is and what you can expect as part of the process of applying and interviewing and all that fun stuff, but also just like what the program looks like on a day-to-day basis. So let me make sure I got this going here. All right. Alex, can you see everything okay? Beautiful. All righty. So welcome. Glad you're here. Tonight, we're going to be discussing a handful of things. First and foremost, what is Develop Carolina? What to expect as part of this program, what your schedule would look like if you were to become an apprentice, important dates, and then next steps. So diving straight into what is Develop Carolina. So Develop Carolina is a 6-month paid full-time apprenticeship program for new software developers. So these are folks who are ready to enter the field as professional programmers. So this means that you have the technical skills, either through independent learning, maybe you went to a boot camp, or maybe you took some college classes, but never finished, don't have a degree, or maybe you do have a 2 or 4 year degree. We don't really care how you got the skills as long as you have the skills. And we're also going to help continue to build those skills throughout. But what we're really built to do is to help you bridge a gap. And so what we've seen through our collective experience as part of different code school teams and just being in tech for a while, our team realized that so often, too often, what happens is folks get the education, they get the skill set, and then somewhere between there and taking that first step into a career, unfortunately, they fall off. And so there's that, terrible chicken or the egg scenario that with experience as far as You're a new developer, you don't have actual workplace experience in development yet. So you're trying to apply for jobs that require experience, even though they're entry level. And so then you're kind of caught up in this, well, how do I get experience if no one will hire me in order to give me the experience? And so folks fall off a lot there, unfortunately. And we wanted to make sure that we built a program that's going to bridge that gap. And so we created Develop Carolina to help folks, so again, have the education or have the knowledge is a better word really for that. And then just need to cross over into that first step of their career. And so the way that we bridge this gap is through on-the-job training. So our apprentices work with a South Carolina-based tech employer. And part of your on-the-job training is also you'll be assigned a mentor within your host company. And we'll talk about mentorship last here before we move on. And then you have continued education in the virtual classroom. And so Alex will dig into this material in just a little bit. We also have umbrella projects. So real life projects, we refer to them as umbrella projects because they kind of they span over your entirety of your time with us, but you'll build a project, a full stack application with a partner, and then mentorship. And so what this looks like is each and every apprentice is assigned a mentor as part of your employer host days. So you've got someone when you are with your employer host that you can go to if you have questions. They will have dedicated time with you each week scheduled. And then they also go through a pretty, in-depth training with us on what it means to be a good mentor and what you all will be learning as you go through this program. So they know each week what's being covered in those classroom days. And again, we'll talk about that schedule in a moment as well, so that they can continue to reinforce those concepts that you're learning in the classroom through real life work on the job. We also provide you with a Develop Carolina advisor, or DCA for short, you'll hear us refer to them. And this is someone who may or may not be associated with your employer host company, but they're someone who is just really interested in giving back and want to help you bridge that gap as well. And so some of these, Mina, are SC Codes mentors. So, that side of the house, and they've come over to help our advisors, to be an advisor and help our apprentices. And then a lot of them have actually been through cohort 1 and have decided to become DCAs. So it's very cool to see them go from, brand new developer through finishing the program, graduating, getting a job, and then becoming a DCA. So we're really we are very intentional with our mentoring. And so there are certain parameters in place that they know to meet with you and discuss certain things with you. And so we want to make sure that you have this entire support team around you at all times as you go through the program. And so those two individuals are your main go-tos, but you also have the entire Develop Carolina team. We're a small team, but you've got us as well. And so we've been using the word apprentice now versus maybe if you had joined us for maybe in a previous cohort or had seen us on LinkedIn or anything since then, is we were calling this a fellowship for a while, simply because we wanted to differentiate ourselves from what is considered a federally registered apprenticeship, which means it is recognized by the Department of Labor at a federal level, and they work with Apprenticeship Carolina here at a state level. Well, the great news is we're now an apprenticeship. So we are actually a federally registered program now. So we had such great success from cohort number 1 that they said, hey, let's figure out how to make this something where our apprentices can actually earn a credential throughout. So apprenticeships are an earn while you learn training model. And so you're going to be covered on, you're going to be going through that job related education. That's supervised on the job learning. And then you actually get a scalable wage progression. So we have actually put into our apprenticeship standards a slightly higher than what is required wage for our apprentices. And so throughout your 6 months, it will equate to about a minimum of a $15,000 stipend. And we'll talk more in depth about that as well. And those hours that you're actually working versus learning. But basically, this is great news. It means that you will be, you're now in a program that is regulated federally. It also means that you're eligible for some support services funding potentially. And it also means that upon completion of this program, you will receive your Journey Worker certification. All right, I'm gonna check my email real quick to see if Nicole is able to get in.
Yep. I can take over here, Katie, if you want.
Okay, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk about the responsibilities of an apprentice. What do we expect from you, and what do we know is going to make you successful in this program? We're still new, we're iterating, we're all learning together, but these are some of the things we've seen that really help folks stand out from day one. The first thing is you got to come in ready to learn. If Mina, I know you're coming from a boot camp program, so you're used to the fire hose of information. You're going to be getting right back in front of that fire hose here. We'll talk more about our schedule, but early in the program, you're going to be getting a lot of lecture, a lot of workshop, a lot of practical experience. And then later in the program, you're going to be learning both from us as a program and also from your host company. So you're going to have double fire hoses coming in. You have lots and lots of stuff to learn. It's really important that joining this program as an apprentice, you make learning your priority. It's really tough to maintain jobs on the side, to have other work. This is not a nights and weekend program. This is a full-time commitment. So we'll expect you to be available for full-time work, since that's how we'll be placing you as an apprentice. We'll expect you to be open and involved in our workshops, which is where we all come together to learn as a team. And we want you asking questions. We want you participating in assignments and projects and exercises. We want to see you growing, and we're going to give you everything you need to grow. We just want to make sure you're taking advantage of that. The second piece, which feeds into that, is we expect you to be collaborative. Working in an apprenticeship, working in a cohort model like what we offer, you have to be collaborative. We're going to pair you with somebody to work on a project. So you're going to have somebody who you're having to schedule time with, having to learn together. We want you to be engaged in those workshops. And so it's really, really important that you understand that this isn't a siloed program where it's just you working by yourself. It's you and all of your teammates learning and growing together. And the last piece of this that's important to know about responsibilities that we expect is we expect you to be a professional. For some folks coming from other careers, this feels like a no-brainer, right? You come in, you're working at a job, you treat it like a job. For other folks coming from maybe a non-traditional background, self-taught, coming out of high school or early college, and this being their first entrance into their career field, we want you to know that we expect you to drop in as a polished professional. We'll help you. We'll provide coaching on that. We do have some, which we'll talk about in our schedule. We do have some sort of soft skills and professional skills training that we offer, but there is an expectation that you come in and treat this as your job. So when you're working at your host company, you're dedicated to them. It's not an internship where you're just peeking over somebody's shoulder and doing your own thing. You're going to have projects assigned to you, and you're going to be responsible for taking those on.
Awesome. And I just want to interject here, Alex, and say, welcome, Nicole. I'm so sorry about the snafu with Zoom. We still don't really know what happened, but I'm so glad that you made it here. You haven't missed much, but we are more than happy to hang out if there are some unanswered questions at the end. It's a small group tonight, which means we have plenty of time for just that one-on-one Q&A and connection there. So glad you made it in.
Yeah. Hey, welcome, Nicole.
Hello, no problem at all. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And just so you know, too, we are recording, so you'll be able to catch up on anything you missed. We'll make sure to share that afterwards.
Perfect. Thank you.
Cool. Alex, do you want to keep on, or you want me to jump back in here? It's totally up to you.
Yeah, I'll let you take over the employer host side, Katie. I think I come in on schedule pretty soon.
Yes. Next slide, I believe, as well. So great. Awesome. So now that we've covered kind of like what your responsibilities would be as an apprentice, we also want to share with you what Develop Carolina and your employer host responsibilities are to set you up for success. And so first and foremost is that support piece. And so we talked a little bit about this when we discussed the mentorship part of the program, but we are going to support you from start to finish through check-ins. Those will be monthly, if not more frequent, depending on your specific needs. Again, that mentorship team that is around you, supporting you as needed. We're going to provide you with clear expectations and outcomes so that every week you'll know what to expect and what is expected of you. And then individualized education plans. So this is something that we have implemented because we realize that everybody learns a little bit differently. And everyone, has those areas where they really breeze through and excel in some, technical topics. And then there are other areas where maybe they're just struggling a little bit more. Or maybe you're getting all of this on the job training in one area, but you don't really get much practical on the job training in another area that we cover. And so what we do is we meet with you and your support team on a monthly basis, and we create an individualized education plan. And so you're going through all of the same material together, but basically we're going to try to cater it to you specifically based on feedback from you and from your mentor team, and make sure that we're providing you with all of the resources that you need and all the opportunities that you need. And if there are areas where you're not receiving those opportunities, maybe on the job, then we're going to make sure that we give you some real life things to be able to get that hands-on experience outside of your on-the-job training days. And one of the biggest things we do too is just a listening ear. Sometimes folks just need someone to vent to. This can be a daunting process, even with all of the support that you're given. It's a big change and it's a big commitment, and you're jumping into your first professional role as a developer. And that can be very, very scary, even though we try hard not to make it very scary. But we're here to support you, not only just with your technical needs and your learning needs, but, to an extent with just like your needs as a human. So we're here to help just continue to coach you on, or, cheer you on and coach you and reassure you that you're where you're supposed to be. And then, so the other piece of this is that career specific training. And so Alex is going to dig into this a little bit more as well, but our classroom curriculum and your on-the-job training are all created and catered to provide you with the knowledge that is in demand and that your employers need and employers in South Carolina need. And so we want to make sure that we're setting you up for success in your career beyond just this apprenticeship. And so we want to make sure that what you're being presented and taught is highly relevant. And so this curriculum was built by software engineers for software engineers. And then lastly, we just call it the total package because we want to make sure that your employer host provides you with all of the materials, hardware, and tools you'll need to do your job and progress in your learning. And so if if your job is going to require a specific type of laptop, they're going to provide that to you. So we want to make sure you don't have to worry about any of that extra stuff. All right, now I'm going to pass it back to you, Alex, and you can talk through our schedule.
Yeah, let's do it. So this is a 24-week program. It's about 6 months, but we want to be specific. It's a 24-week program. Your first 3 weeks are going to be all classroom time. When we say classroom, you don't have to meet anywhere. We're on Zoom, we're remote. You'll be with folks from all over the state. But the idea is that we're all together for roughly half the day to go over technical content. This is where we're going to really polish you for that first day of work. So for 3 weeks, it's going to be just like a boot camp program, if you're familiar with that, or just like distance learning at a college. So you'll be in a class with around 15 other folks. We'll go through different technical topics each day. We'll build on those topics over time. And at the end of that 3 weeks, we'll all be confident. And this is key for us. We'll be confident in you. We want you to be confident in yourselves. We'll all be confident that you're ready for day one with your host employer. We'll talk more about the kind of the content we teach and how you can preview that yourself here in a couple slides. Once we move into week 4, for the rest of the program, you'll have 2 days with us each week and then 3 days with your host company. So on Monday, we'll have a typical classroom day. That means for the first half of the day, you'll be with your cohort online, learning something new, pairing together, covering some technical topics. On Fridays, you'll be with us for what we call our Friday huddles. And these are those professional skills we talked about. So as an example, with the current cohort, we had a financial planner come in. Tech salaries are kind of a different breed from a lot of the work you may have done. We want folks to be prepared if they have questions about things like stock options at their new job, or what to do with this money coming in and how to prepare themselves with things like retirement accounts and health insurance. So we had a financial planner come in and give a lecture on a Friday morning about how you can prep for that and what you should expect and what you can do to set yourself up for success. Those are the kinds of skills we want to make sure you have on top of the technical work that we'll be covering on Mondays. So Monday and Friday, technical, non-technical. Right in the middle of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, are 3 full-time days at your host company. Now, you will be spending time with your mentors there. You'll be having regular meetings with them, but you'll also be pairing with your team. You'll be writing code. You'll be solving bugs. You'll be in planning meetings. You'll be doing all the things that a software developer does for those 3 days. And for that time, you'll be paid, just like you're a software developer working on the team, because as an apprentice, that's what you are. This is an earn and learn program. This isn't an internship where you're going to get coffee, looking over shoulders, reading a book. You'll be working just like a regular software developer does from Tuesday to Thursday. Does anybody have any questions about kind of that schedule? Just thinking about that 3 weeks front loaded and the rest of the program kind of split. Okay. I like a small group because I can see everybody shake their head. This is good. I don't have to like move my screen over. So let's talk about what we learn, what we cover. This is those first 3 weeks and then Mondays after that. We use an open source curriculum called Engineer Kit, which we'll dig into in a minute. It's a totally public resource library that has everything organized into 15 topics. Those topics are everything from what does it mean to be a software craftsperson? What does it mean to build software? Up to really specifics of things like how do we run a server? What's a backend? What's a front end? What are the specifics of these particular services like Amazon and Microsoft and Google who will host your code for you? So we'll dig more into Engineer Kit, but that's really the foundation of our curriculum. We also had the Umbrella Project. And Katie talked about that earlier. The Umbrella Project, which is overarching for the entire program, covers all the content. We let you drive that. So while you're at your host company and doing real paid work, you'll also have this little side project that you're running along with somebody else in the cohort as your pair. And you'll team up on that throughout the whole program. We'll do regular demos to make sure you're staying on track. And at the end of the program, you'll have this great portfolio piece so that if you don't get an offer with your host company, which sometimes may not happen, we've been lucky so far, but we want to prepare. You'll have this really fantastic portfolio piece you can take out to interview and say, not only do I have 6 months of on-the-job experience now, I also built this cool thing on the side. Look how much I can do, right? The last thing we use are exercises. Now, exercises sometimes come from Engineer Kit. There are some practical resources there. They may come from us. They may be exercises that are a response to a question that you had. Just like Katie said, we work really hard to tailor this program to your needs. So if you and your mentor come to us and say, hey, Nicole's having a really hard time with infrastructure right now, can we give her anything to help her learn? We may assign some exercises and say, yeah, work on these this week, bring them back on Friday. Let's see how you're feeling then. So that's what we mean by tailoring. And we talk about those individualized education plans is we're going to assign the work that we know is going to help you grow. And we're going to focus on the things where you want to grow, the things we know you need help in, not the things you're already great at. If you can show off, we want you to be able to show off. That's great. We're going to let you take the stage there. So let's talk a little bit about Engineer Kit, because this is foundational to our curriculum. It's not everything, but it's good to think about how we think about learning. Engineer Kit has tons of content in it. We mentioned it's 15 modules. Those modules break down eventually to over 300 learning outcomes. And I want to be clear, so it's not too intimidating. Those learning outcomes are things like Mina can install a server. Mina can confidently discuss what Amazon Web Services is. They're very small bite-sized pieces of demonstrable skill. And that's what's important to us is that demonstrable piece. We're going to be constantly checking in with you to say, hey, how are you growing? What did you learn this week? What do you want to learn next week? Engineer Kit includes both resources and exercises, as we mentioned. We'll also be supplementing that with our own resources and our own exercises. So we're not limiting to Engineer Kit, but we do pull a lot from this. Now, the philosophy behind the way we teach is that our program is meant to create what we call a T-shaped developer. And that's what's on the right side of your screen here on this slide is that T. Engineer Kit makes up the top bar. So Engineer Kit is going to expose you to lots of different resources. It's not going to make you a specialist in anything. It's going to make you a strong generalist software developer. And that's our goal with it, is that you're covering these topics. You've seen these terms. You're not caught off guard by anything in the industry. Your work at your host company is what gives you that vertical bar of the T. That's where you'll specialize. So while you're working with us on things that aren't specific to a language or a technology or a company, you'll also be really digging deep with your host company and learning a particular language, a particular tech stack, a particular project. At the end of the program, you'll have both of those things to carry forward. You'll have that generalist exposure and you'll have that specialization as a result of being on a real project at your host company. So in our experience, this is what makes somebody really successful. That top bar lets you be adaptable to any circumstance. That middle bar lets you be immediately effective anywhere you go. So both of these are really important. And Engineer Kit is a large part of how we deliver that. One thing that I do want to highlight that Katie already shared, awesome, thank you, Katie, is that Engineer Kit is an open source curriculum. So as I mentioned, we do supplement. There's lots of things we'll add in. Those aren't secret. We just haven't published them. So you'll get access to those as a member of the cohort. But you could go out to Engineer Kit tonight at engineerkit.org and preview some of the content we'll be covering. This is a really good way to gauge whether you're ready for our program. You shouldn't look at Engineer Kit and say, oh, I know all this already. This is easy. If that's the case, you may be a little bit advanced. And if that's the case, that's fine. Let us know and we can help you start looking for a job. We can help you find a mentor through SC Codes or use one of our other programs to get you that next step. If you look at Engineer Kit and you say, this is all totally Greek, I don't know what any of this means, that might also not be a great sign, but talk to us. Let us know how you're feeling about it. If you look at Engineer Kit and you say, some of these words are familiar, but I don't know a lot of this, that's the sweet spot. That's where we're going to take you from that kind of 5 or 10 miles an hour you're going up to 110 miles an hour at the end of the program. Does anybody have any questions about our curriculum, schedule, Engineer Kit, anything about the kind of cool stuff we're going to be teaching you for the next 6 months? All right. Cool. I'll hand it back to you, Katie.
All right. Thanks so much, Alex. All right. So the next few slides are just a few quotes from our graduates, things that they let us ask for, we asked permission. Hey, can we share some of the cool things that you've shared with us? And so this is Jeremy, and he is a software developer at Booz Allen Hamilton. And he says, this helped set him up for his family. So he's also a DCA now. So Jeremy came full circle. He was our first cohort, graduated, got employed, got an offer before graduation, actually, transitioned to full-time, and now is back as a Develop Carolina advisor. So mentoring with the next group to help them succeed. Ariana is an amazing person who made a transition from food and bev to tech, and she also is now employed as a software engineer and is also a Develop Carolina advisor. So we get to see a lot of her still, which is very nice. And then Matt was the rock star of cohort 1, the first one to get a job offer, and just the nicest guy. But he shared that this program literally has changed his life. He was unemployed prior to starting our program, and I believe a newlywed. So he's all set for his new life and new family as well. All right. And so first of all, we'll send you all of this, so don't feel like you have to write all of these down, but these are some important dates to keep in mind as you decide and hopefully apply for the program. So October 28th, so a few weeks from now is when our applications will close. November 4th is when we'll have all of the interviews completed. And so the earlier you apply, the earlier you're likely going to interview. And so we're not going to wait and just do them all in that between the 28th and November 4th, because that would be miserable for us. And so as soon as you apply, we're going to start vetting some of those initial applications here very soon and start scheduling your interviews. And so what your interview will look like is it'll be 2-part. We might switch up the order a little bit, but one interview is going to be a more technical interview, but not anything to be scared about. So this is not like a whiteboard interview. And Alex, do you want to share a little bit more about what that will look like?
Yeah, totally. So our technical interviews, just like Katie said, there's no gotchas, there's no whiteboard. We're not going to go through algorithms. You don't have to study for them. Our goal with the technical interview is to make sure that you're capable of delivering at a host company pretty quickly. So if you're brand new to programming, this isn't the right program for you. We have other programs available. We'd love to talk to you. But our technical interview will just be a conversation. We're going to talk about the kind of things you've worked on, what your experience is like. We may go over a few keywords or assign a self-assessment ahead of time. So we may ask you to just kind of fill in some 1 to 5s on how confident are you with these technologies or these terms. We'll verify that in the conversation, and then we'll write a little bit of code together. And again, nothing to study for, no gotchas. We'll be working together and doing the same kind of work you'd be doing on the job with a host company. But we'll spend 5 or 10 minutes writing some code, talking through it, just getting a sense of how you think. Part of this is so that we can verify your technical skill, because that's important. Part of it is so that we know how you like to work and how you like to think, so we can place you at a company that matches the way you work best.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. And then you also have a second interview or an additional interview with yours truly. And so I'm just going to chat with you for a little bit, get to know you from a very non-technical perspective. Alex is our tech guy. But I'm going to get to know you, learn more about your motivation for being here, learn more about your career journey and your educational journey, and really just see, is this person seem like they could work well with others? You know, are they going to be able to communicate when they need help? And so some of those more durable skills versus technical skills. By November 11th, we hope to have all of the apprentices selected. And then by November 30th, we want to have you matched and introduced to your employer host. So these, full disclosure, these may shift just slightly, but we're going to try to stick to the schedule as best that we can. And then January 9th, your apprenticeship begins. So we'll have a little orientation prior to that day, and we'll send all that out as we get closer to. But we want to make sure that you feel fully prepared on day 1 to get rocking and rolling. And so you've already, met your mentors, you're more comfortable with the team. And so from there, that comfort level just continues to grow. And hopefully you feel like you're exactly where you belong. And so next steps. So we hope that you'll complete your application. And so if you haven't yet, it's not short, but it's fairly straightforward. So no big essays that you have to write in there. We just kind of want to know a little bit about your experience in looking for a job, what your education is. If you have a portfolio, we want to see it. If you have a GitHub, we want to see it, all of those things. And so definitely go ahead and complete that application. It's on our website at developcarolina.org. So we can also drop that in the chat for you. And then we will review it, and then we'll reach out with any clarifying questions, or if we need any more information, or if we just are ready to go ahead and get you scheduled. And then interviews, we already walked over that. So that will be the next step. And then decision. So again, we hope to condense all of this over the next 6 to 8 weeks. So we want you to know for sure going into the holidays what your plans are for the new year. So we're going to work hard to keep to that. So any questions about next steps or about anything at all? And it looks like Alex did drop the application link in the chat. Thank you for that. So yeah, so that's all the presentation we have. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing so we can look at each other. And yeah, would love to answer any and all questions that you may have.
Yeah, I was wondering, what kind of host companies do you guys work with?
Great question. So to date, we are still working on recruiting host companies for January, but to date we've had Booz Allen Hamilton. Nicole, where are you located in?
I'm in Florida, but I'm looking to
Oh.
relocate actually.
Oh, okay. Alex is in Florida. So
Nice.
very cool. How did you fare through Ian?
I'm okay. It missed us. I'm in the very south in Florida, in the Florida Keys. So we got lucky this time. I feel so bad for Fort Myers, and that whole area. But yeah, we weathered fine. It was just stormy for like 3 days, and it was, I mean, a nice change for a little bit. And I was like, okay, I'm over it. Like nothing bad by me. So
Good.
thank you for asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Glad to hear that. And even more exciting that you're looking to relocate. So, where was I going with that? Oh, I was trying to see your familiarity with maybe some of the regions in Charleston. I was going to tell you more specifics, but I'll kind of categorize the employer host. So Booz Allen Hamilton is a government contractor. We had Code and Trust, our first cohort, which is a startup that helps build sites for companies. They're kind of like is that SaaS product? Yeah. I'm looking at Alex, like making sure that
Katie's dropping terms in here. This is good. Yeah, Code and Trust builds products for other companies, so you'll be working with them on other companies' products.
Okay.
Hyper is cloud infrastructure as a service. What is Hyper? Yeah, did I get? Okay, great. And then we work with Worthwhile, which is a smaller startup company in the Greenville area, so the upstate. The previous three I mentioned are in the Low Country, so in Charleston, which is where I am. And then we've also had, who am I forgetting? Am I forgetting someone? No, I think that's everyone.
I thought you said Worthwhile last time.
Yes. Yep. Worthwhile. So you're up in that area, Nina. They've been an employer host cohort 1, and they're currently an employer host as well. So, and so that kind of how many companies we have and how many apprentices they want to take on helps us figure out how many to accept. But we have generally kept our cohort size around like 12 to 15. It's kind of we don't want to get any bigger than 15 because we're very hands-on and we're very like the individualized education plans. We're able to do that, and we are able to provide a lot of that, and we can only scale that so far for now anyways. But yeah, so we've got a wide variety of different organizations that
sounds super cool, honestly. Yeah, that sounds, I like the idea that it's like various type of startups and even like government involved. That sounds really interesting. And then the other question I had was, for the tech interview, what kind of programming languages are you guys looking like or expecting in a way?
Yeah, that's a great question. Any of them.
Okay.
I don't mean that like in a funny, facetious way. The coding that we'll be doing together is on a platform that has something like 48 available languages. So I would be very surprised if you can bring a language that doesn't work with that.
Okay, cool.
Broadly, what we see the most use in at our host companies is we see a lot of Python, we see a lot of JavaScript, we see a little bit of Ruby and a little bit of Java, and we're starting to see a little bit of C#/.NET.
Okay.
So if any of those are familiar to you,
Mhm.
that might kind of give you a sense of where to start preparing as well.
Yeah. Currently I'm doing a boot camp like program, if you've heard of Generation.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm currently doing that, and it ends in December. And that's why I'm like looking for an opportunity that is paid and where I can learn more.
Yeah.
Because I'm starting to feel pretty comfortable, and I did my own learning before this as well. So I know JavaScript, and we're going to learn Java.
Nice.
I'm learning some Python, and I really want to learn C# on my own.
Okay.
So it feels like this would be like such an awesome program to be a part of and to relocate and check out a new city.
Yeah.
Totally.
You will, with that kind of like background coming from out of a boot camp, you'll be well prepared for the technical interview. Nothing to stress about there.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. That's great.
Definitely. Great questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have an awesome presentation.
Oh, thank you.
I'm working on my application now, so hopefully you'll see me.
Yes. Love it. Mina, do you have any questions?
Yeah, the project that we are doing, so the full stack application, do we get to select our programming languages, or are we set on some language and skills?
So the way that we've assigned those projects for this cohort, and again, we're learning, things will change a little bit class to class, but the way we handled that this cohort is we had everybody in the program. So I think we started with, was it 12 folks this time, Katie?
We started with 14.
Started 14. Thank you. Math is hard. That's what computers are for, right?
Yeah.
We started with 14 people. We had all 14 people come up with a project idea. So they sat down over a weekend, they took some notes down and said, hey, here's the kind of thing I want to build. Not technically, not thinking about programming languages or stack, just what kind of product do I want to build? We had everybody present. We chose half of those projects that we felt were the most viable. You know, some of them might be a little too small, some of them might be a little too broad. So we chose half of them, and then we split up teams and said, all right, let's pair folks. So that way you get the experience of building something from scratch, but you also get some of that project management experience, like splitting up the work, planning out tickets, that sort of thing. After that, the only guidance we've given folks on that project is what sorts of features we want to see. So, okay, this week we'd like to see you have your login put together. Next week, we'd like to see the first feature from your product. So if it's a food, you know, we have a food service app, we want to see a menu that'll show up, that kind of thing. Tech stack is totally up to you. So just as an example, we have some folks right now who, let me think, we have a cooking app that is using Mongo and React and I think Node on the back end too. So full stack JavaScript there, but with a document database. We also have one pair who said, hey, we want to learn the Microsoft stack. And they're using Microsoft SQL Server. They're using .NET for their API. And then they have a React front end on it using TypeScript. So they can stay right inside Microsoft's little walled garden. So totally up to you. The one thing that I will offer there is by the time you're building your project, you should know a little bit about your host company. And so it might align well for you to pick a tech stack that matches your host company's tech stack. So if you're going to Worthwhile likes to work with Python. Maybe you decide to do your umbrella project in Python too. If you're comfortable, maybe you decide to do Python at Worthwhile and then work on your C#.NET for somebody like Nicole on your umbrella project. So then you get a little bit of both. But we leave that up to you. We're here to support you, and we can support basically any modern programming language. If you decide to do your umbrella project in COBOL, we might have to read some books first, but we'll do our best.
Alex, you'd be proud of me. I literally almost came off mute and said, don't build it in COBOL.
You can build it in COBOL. Is a very lucrative language right now since all the programmers have retired. So if you want to do it, I'll learn it with you. We'll figure it out.
All right. Well, we have plenty of time left, but also since it's a small group, we won't, force you to stay on this till 7:30. But would love to answer any and all questions, that you have. And like Alex said earlier, we will send out the slide deck. We also have an FAQ document that we'll send out, and then we'll have this recording as well. That'll be ready to go, and I'll send that out in the morning so I can send that all together once it's up on YouTube. So you can review at your own pace and ask any questions then via email. But again, we're happy to continue answering any questions as you have them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. I don't have any questions right now that I can think of, but I know things will come as they will. But I really appreciate this conversation, and I'm excited to finish my application.
Yay, I'm excited to see it come through. Thank you so much for hopping in. And again, sorry for the Zoom fiasco.
Oh, it's okay. It's a part of the technology, right? Experience.
Exactly. Oh, that's awesome. Mina, anything else from you, or we'll go ahead and wrap things up?
Yeah, I don't have any questions. Thank you for the presentation, though.
Absolutely. So nice chatting with you both. And yeah, I'll be on the lookout for your applications, and let us know if you have any questions.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thanks. Y'all too. Bye-bye.